Starting with choosing the right colours. With your complexion, it's so easy to pick the wrong colour that will kind of wash you out and really doesn't work with your complexion. So instead, we're going to want to be very specific about the colours we choose to wear and implement into our wardrobe. I'm going to give you some of the colours I'm going to recommend you wear and some that I recommend you stay away from. Starting with what you want to wear. So obviously what works for everyone is the neutrals. Next thing you're going to want to wear is that kind of more earthy tones. This is going to be your browns, your greens, your beiges. These work really well with your complexion, as they won't tend to wash you out. Next up, I'm going to recommend those kind of darker, deeper colours, like a burgundy or a navy blue. Now onto the colours that you should try and avoid. Big one's going to be pastel. That kind of pale pastel colour really doesn't work with a lot of brown men's skin. Instead, opt for something like a beige, as this will work a lot better with these kind of like brown undertones. Next, the biggest no is going to have to be neon colours. I personally don't think anyone really can get away with this colour. This is particularly bad for people with a darker complexion, as there's just too much contrast going on and it really doesn't work. So you want to use your complexion to your advantage as an accessory and really dress for that. The biggest thing I can recommend here is experiment, see what works best for you, and based on that calibrate, as you'll find you definitely have an intuitive sense what colours work best on you. Next up, we're going to want to make sure we're dressing appropriately for our physiques. Obviously, everyone's physique exists on a wide spectrum. However, given the brown genetics, most guys tend to lie closer to the skinny fat end of that spectrum. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on this video. However, if you are particularly muscular or particularly skinny, I do have specific videos on my channel for how you can best dress for those physiques. If you're skinny fat, however, we're going to want to dress and use clothes as a tool to help present ourselves the best. Starting with top, we're not going to want anything too tight. You can't get away with those baby tees and you can't get away with anything really fitted. Instead, you're going to want to opt for something looser and more relaxed looking. This will drape over your physique and kind of hide the bits you might like to highlight a bit less. Moving on to trousers, we're going to want to stay away from anything too skinny and too tapered. This is because generally with the skinny fat physique, most of the fat is stored in the abdomen, leaving you with very skinny legs. To dress to your advantage here, go with a wider trouser. If you go with something skinny, it's really going to draw attention and make your legs look thinner than they actually are. Instead, dress to your advantage, wear wider trousers, something that really complements your physique. My next recommendation is going to be focus on your grooming. This isn't necessarily a fashion recommendation. However, when you go to put together a beautiful outfit, it can really be ruined if you haven't taken care of yourself appropriately. A lot of brown guys are blessed with the genetic ability to grow very good beards. However, this doesn't mean that you can't neglect them completely. Still, definitely be on top of trimming your beard and making sure it's clean and well kept. My recommendations for achieving this look is using a beard trimmer and an eyebrow razor. A beard trimmer to make sure all the hairs are even length, and an eyebrow razor to make sure you've lined it up appropriately. Beard style you go for depends on your hairstyle. So if you've gone for a more kind of clean cut hairstyle, go for a bit more of a kind of out there rugged beard look. And if you've gone for a bit more of a kind of crazy out there hairstyle, go for something a bit cleaner on the beard. This will complement quite nicely and kind of balance out the look. The last thing you're going to want to look out for with grooming is making sure your eyebrows are well kept. Make sure you don't kind of have that monobrow kind of look. Don't be afraid to remove it, and this will go a long way in kind of putting together your whole outfit and giving you that look. My last recommendation is going to be choose the right accessories for you. For accessories, particularly jewelry, this really depends on your undertone. For instance, if you're a warmer undertone, more of that kind of yellow hue, jewelry that's going to work best is stuff like gold. However, if you're a cooler undertone with more of that kind of reddish, pinkish hue, then what's going to work best is silver jewelry. This is the general rule. There are people who lie in between this and kind of have a mixed undertone. These people can get away with both gold and silver look. The big thing here, especially with a dark complexion, you're going to want to make sure you've picked the right jewelry for you. And the last thing I'm going to recommend is do your research and find an archetype that you can fit into. So this means look on Pinterest and Instagram and find your style, whether it's streetwear, that kind of old money look, or maybe you're really into your fashion and you want to go for a high fashion look. It doesn't matter as long as it's something you really like. However, try and find examples of people with similar complexions to you pulling off these pieces. If not, use the tips I've given you today and modulate these pieces to work best for your complexion. We're just really trying to optimize your look here to help your clothes look best on you. Again, this is all subjective, but hopefully this video has helped you dress better. On that note, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed, and goodbye.